Hello and welcome back to the Crime Reel. First of all, thank you to Dee Nagara, who suggested this story to me way back in 2020. Dee lives in Malaysia and gives me regular updates on her life each week. Thanks for those, Dee. So, for today's true crime narration, we shall be returning to the year 2000 in New York to look at the case of the Leung family. At around 9:30 a.m. on Friday the 10th of November 2000, the decomposed body of a man was found stuffed inside a laundry bag floating in the East River near East 84th Street in New York. The man was wearing his pajamas. He appeared to be around 50 years of age and had clearly been strangled. The police stated that the victim could have been thrown into the river from Upper Manhattan, the Bronx or Queens, and then carried by the current to the spot where he was found. Initial attempts to identify the victim were unsuccessful, and whilst reported in the press, the gruesome discovery did not generate much media interest. 5 days later, on the 15th of November 2000, a lady by the name of Teresa Leung reported that her parents, Stephen and Chil-lin Leung, were missing. Their son, who lived in the same apartment as his parents, had not seen them for almost 2 weeks. However, with the family's conflicting shift patterns, long working hours, and daily routines, this was not an uncommon occurrence. The couple's youngest child, Connie Leung, was also missing. The murder detectives soon linked the disappearance to the unidentified man who had been found in the river, and it was soon confirmed that the body did in fact belong to 55-year-old Stephen Leung. Stephen and his 41-year-old wife, Chil-lin, had moved from Hong Kong to live in the United States of America. Stephen was described as a hard-working, private person who worked as a waiter at the upmarket Le Parker Meridien Hotel on West 57th Street. His wife Chil-lin worked behind the counter of the New Good Taste takeout restaurant on 2nd Avenue near the family's duplex apartment on 1st Avenue in Harlem. As the investigation began to centre around the family's home, it was soon discovered that the couple's 17-year-old daughter Connie, who it was initially believed was missing, was in fact staying at the YMCA on the Upper West Side with her 20-year-old boyfriend, Eric Leung. Connie and Eric had met in East Harlem and had been dating for around a year. Connie attended the High School of Maths and Science where, up until meeting Eric, she had always been a good student, consistently achieving A's and B's in her classes. However, once she became involved with Eric, this began to change. She started to cut classes, and it wasn't long before her grades began to suffer. Eric also came from a hard-working family who had previously been described by their neighbours as a model family, but Eric's personality began to change. He stopped following the family's rules. He dropped out of college and left the family home, wanting nothing more to do with his parents. Connie's parents were against her relationship with this older boy who had no home or job and who they saw as being responsible for their daughter's declining grades. They were also adamant that their daughter should not be in an interracial relationship. Connie and Eric were picked up from the YMCA on the 16th of November 2000. They were taken in for questioning, at which time they both confessed to murdering Stephen and Chil-lin. Chil-lin's body had still not been found. From their confessions, it was established that in the early hours of the 1st of November, Stephen and Chil-lin had caught Eric hiding in Connie's bedroom. Later that day, Connie and her father met with a high school counsellor to discuss her repeated absences from school. Numerous arguments between Connie and her parents followed. Increasingly determined that they should be together, Connie and Eric came up with a plan. They decided that they wanted to run away and live together, and believed that killing Connie's parents was the only way to achieve this. On the evening of the 2nd of November, Stephen had returned home from work at around 7 p.m. He changed into his pyjamas and sat in his bedroom watching television when Connie went in to talk to him about their earlier arguments. However, instead of attempting to resolve their issues, Connie held her father down while Eric strangled him with a cloth belt from a raincoat. This belt was still wrapped around Stephen's neck when his body was discovered. A few hours later, Chil-lin arrived home from work. Connie restrained her mother by sitting on her legs and holding down her arms, whilst Eric strangled her with a leather belt. The couple then hid the bodies behind a bed in the apartment and locked the door to that room. Connie's brother remained living in the apartment, unaware that his parents had been murdered and their bodies hidden in the room next door. 5 days after the murders, Connie and Eric put the body of 5'3" Chil-lin in a laundry sack, then placed her body into a shopping cart and pushed her into the East River. 3 days later, they did the same to Stephen, dumping his body into the river at 106th Street. The couple stole about $1,000 from the family apartment and made about another $1,000 by pawning jewellery. They then withdrew $2,000 from Connie's parents' bank accounts and then checked into a hotel where they stayed for a few days before moving to the YMCA, where they were picked up by the police. During her confession, Connie claimed that her father was threatening to sell her off in an arranged marriage, so, together with Eric, she had decided that the only way they could stay together was for her parents to die. Connie and Eric plotted together, strangled her parents together, and disposed of the bodies together. Eric was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, which could be punishable by death or life without the possibility of parole. As Connie was under 18 at the time of the murders, she was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, which would both carry a maximum sentence of 25 years to life. Eventually, Chil-lin's body was retrieved from the river on the 19th of November. In April the following year, the Manhattan District Attorney, Robert Morgenthau, who opposed capital punishment, stated that he would not seek the death penalty in Eric's case, but instead would look for life without parole. On the 18th of March 2002, Eric pleaded guilty before the Manhattan State Supreme Court Judge Charles Tejada to 2 counts of second-degree murder, a plea deal which meant he would serve 30 years to life in prison. In January 2003, Connie also pled guilty to second-degree murder. However, in March of that year, despite her previous confession and the evidence against her, it was reported that Connie had told the judge that she wanted to withdraw her guilty plea, claiming that it was coerced by her lawyer. She now claimed that she was innocent. The Manhattan State Supreme Court Judge Charles Tejada denied this motion to withdraw the guilty plea, and Connie was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. She remained calm and dry-eyed as the sentence was passed. Neither Eric nor Connie showed any remorse for their crimes, and the earliest date that either one of them will be released from prison is November 2030. That concludes today's case. You may well have noticed that there weren't many pictures at all today. This case really hasn't received much coverage, so there wasn't a great deal of information out there to be found. However, thanks once again Dee for suggesting that I cover the case. Please make sure that you add any comments down below, and if you're able to click like and subscribe, that would be appreciated. If you are ever able to share my channel information with a friend, any support like that is gratefully appreciated. Thanks very much for listening to The Crime Reel. Stay safe. Goodbye. Psst. This case has been featured in the Deadly Women series in an episode called Double Trouble, Season 7, Episode 15. Goodbye.